Hello, all. Is this who we have here? These three?
Oh, let's see.
Let's see who's all here.
17.
Nice. Well, I am Blake Ritter. I'm going to be taking over here, doing Irish Fiddle technique. Hope we've got some fiddlers in our midst here. So my little blurb was posted on the chat there, and that was my intention, was to do this tune that I'm hoping any aspiring Irish fiddlers know, the Kid on the Mountain. There's sheet music there if people want to look at the sheet music. That way we can kind of follow along in the tune, and then I'll go over some stuff we can do with phrasing and some ornamentation and things like that. And I love questions, so if anyone has any specific questions on technique, ornamentation, bowing, you know, the weather, anything, just throw it there in the chat, and I will try to answer all the questions. Yeah, there we go. Yeah, Kid on the Mountain. You can look at the sheet music there. If there's any issues, let me know. But I'm going to start by playing through the tune so y'all know what I'm talking about. I'm going to play it through like pretty straightforward the first time, and then I will probably play it just kind of the way I would normally play it, with some ornamentation and some fun stuff in there. You can play along if you feel like it, but this might be a good time to just listen to the way I approach the tune, at least on the second time maybe. So yeah, the Kid on the Mountain. Before I play it, maybe I'll give you a little info just so you know what we're talking about. Irish slip jig. And I'll give you some more info after I play it here. Kid on the Mountain. Good tune. Made famous by a number of people. The Bothy Band, classic Irish group, made a really famous recording of this. And there's a neat little blurb on the sheet music I posted. I'll just read that here. A great tune full of variation, and that's sort of why I picked this. Good tune for variations. First, third, and fourth parts are in E minor, the second and fifth in G. They make the most of the contrast between the mellifluous third part with its high rolls and the staccato trebling effect of the section that follows. So it's a bit of an overly wordy description of the tune, but, it's all about the contrast. That is what makes this a great tune. And it talks about Tommy Peoples recording this, and also, Tommy Peoples and Paul Brady. So, check that recording out. Check out the Bothy Band recording as well. And really, listen to as many recordings as possible. You can find a lot of different melodic and variation type possibilities. So if anyone has any questions about this tune before I start talking about some of the different things we can do, now would be a good time before I start. So let's see here. So the beginning of the tune is something to think about when if you're thinking along the lines of variation, especially, is like what is the most simplified version of this melody, right? So the tune normally sounds like so, like, a lot of notes going on, but really what the tune's doing isn't. It's doing this like. So it does this really defined little walk-up kind of thing. And if you are new to Irish fiddling and the idea of ornamentation, a lot of times what we'll do is, the most basic variation we would do here would just be 3 notes instead of 2 notes. Or I mean 1 note, right? We get this. That's our little walk-up. So instead of doing that, we can go a lot more interesting, and then you can always do the opposite of that, which is a good thing to think about with variations. Why not do it in reverse? Instant variation. But what we can do is we can add in what's called a cut or a grace note. People call this different things, but it's just this little thing where we take our little ring finger and we're going to kind of just swipe across the string. So you can see what I'm doing with my finger, kind of like bringing it across. You can almost hear me plucking the string a little bit, but it doesn't have to be super hard. You just kind of want to bring it towards your palm. You're bringing this little swipe. So instead of going, you can go, you get that nice little sound. So that's a good thing to practice if you're new to it. That's sort of like the foundation of a lot of the little things we'll do. What's nice is you'll always use this one finger. Like, you don't want to use these other two if you can avoid it. If you're gracing that one, you'll use a pinky. Otherwise, you'll use that one finger for this technique. So the thing that's written into the little sheet music that I have over here is actually a roll, which uses that cut. And what it is that you do a cut, and then you lift your finger and put it back down. And that's the sound we're looking for. Da 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 da. And you see, you don't need to use a lot of movement. You just want to get that nice, that little plucky kind of sound. Because the idea is you don't want to hear this note. You don't want to hear a G. You don't want to hear that. You want to hear. It's a little percussive noise. Is the concept? It's a rhythmic variation. So we're gonna do that and lift our finger. And what's nice is, you can do that. That's called a roll. And that's what's normally in the tune. But you can vary the timing to make it a different ornament. You can just use the normal thing I talked about, the little 3-note thing, and use a cut. And then just there, by varying those two things, there's a lot of different possibilities. You can get the roll, and then follow it with just, or now you can do the roll followed by the little cut thingy, or you could do 2 rolls, or you could do 2 of just the 3 notes plus the cut maneuver. Just by varying those 2 things, you got a lot of different possibilities. And then also by not doing them, that's a variation too. So a lot of things here, just in that first little bit of the tune. So it's a great place to practice that. You could get into some bow triplets if you wanted to do that. That's sort of another little move we can do. You could also do it instead of going da 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 da. You can do, like I said earlier, the opposite. You go da 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 da. That's another little variation we've got. So yeah, it's the sort of thing. If you listed them all and just kind of did one through the list, it'd probably take you a few times to get through the whole tune to use all of those nice little variations. And if anyone has any questions about any of these particular little things, I can go into more depth on them. But this is a bit of like a, kind of crash course, kind of showing you what, I would do with this tune real quick, what all the little options are. So let's see. Playing through this tune, how would I normally do this? We got that fun phrase at the beginning. So that's a good spot. This next phrase. That's like a really nice spot to practice a little slide. What's nice about these Irish slides is there's kind of, there's different phrasings you can do with them, but that one, that open string to first finger kind of little thing. You don't need to move your finger almost at all to get that little swoopy thing. And if you speed your bow up, if you don't actually use any pressure, you just use a little like extra speed with a light touch, you can get that swoopy sound. It's a nice way to kind of soften that slide, and it's a very kind of what is it, like County Clare, East Clare kind of a sound, which is kind of a nice Irish thing. Makes it sound a little more different from like a bluegrass slide, per se. So that's a really nice spot to do that. You get that A open string, first finger open string. Perfect spot for that. And there too. And that last phrase, what's really nice in that last phrase is I do this little move, I was talking about the cuts earlier. You can kind of get a free little grace note cut kind of sound by just leaving your finger there for the bow change. So you're getting a little... So you're just leaving your finger there for a second. If anyone's familiar with a hammer-on, it's like the opposite of a hammer-on. A hammer-on would be like... It's the opposite. It's like... I like that maneuver because you're actually just moving your finger slower, if anything. You just need to delay picking it up, and you get that nice little sound. So that's a lovely little thing. Are you hammering at all to make the cut acute? Okay, so you can like really pull it off harder. It's a little bit harder to do it probably on that one than if you had like you get that kind of thing, you really pull that finger off. Then you get a lot more of that sharp, cutty sound. You don't want to probably do it that much. That probably doesn't sound very good. But you could do it like a little bit. Where you're pulling it, off. And it sounds like I'm doing it really hard, and it might take a lot of finger strength. But it actually doesn't. Like, if you just go like that way, instead of up like you used to, just that little bit, that'll give it quite a bit. Yeah, so it's like it doesn't need to be like a full-on pizzicato, but just that tiny bit of just moving it to the right. And it's kind of that same concept of the cut that goes like that. Really good question, yeah. I usually don't mention that as much because it's like you just want to kind of get the concept of the note of delaying your finger movement. And then you can sort of, add a little more sauce by... So yeah, that's a fun little thing to do there. And then that's a nice little chord you can do to end the tune, you know, or the section. You know, you get first finger on the D plus second finger on G, as you get this E plus B. Nice little thing. And right there I did a hammer on, which is a nice thing to do as well. Put your finger on both strings, and then you can hammer on that second finger, which is like a fun little, you know, very authoritative kind of a sound. You probably don't want to necessarily do that like every time you hit that note. But when you're really trying to like end it with some real emphasis, that's really nice, you know. It's a good way to like end the tune, probably. And as far as where double stops, you know, if you did do that one, that's like a nice little thing you can do. It, you know, the chord, I think, would normally be like an E minor, D, E minor thing, where you would do a different chord, but I like the way it sounds when you just leave that second finger down the whole time. Kind of a neat little, you know, somewhat chord progression sounding thing you can throw in there. And even that in itself, just doing that, like say you know, you're in like a session and someone decides to play this tune like a fourth time or something, and it's got 5 parts, and it's like, good God, are we still playing this tune? That's when you could do something like that. Just go like, you know, really get a little more weird with the chords like that. Maybe have some more fun with the variations. So yeah, moving on to the second part, unless anyone has any questions about the first. There's certainly more stuff we could do. But chances are anything I would talk about doing in that first part, I'll probably mention for one of these other parts. So yeah, moving on to the B part. What do we got? So that's the section repeated, obviously. I think a couple things I did in there. We got like, right here, this, that spot is like, if you're a fiddler, like, we live for that moment. Like, every other instrument doesn't get as good of a thing right there as we get. We get that big ba-ya-da-la-da. And that's such a glorious little phrase. And it kind of leads into something about phrasing in these tunes, like a general, you know, there's no rules. This is like trad music, so, you know, there's always an exception to any rule. But a nice thing you can do is Marla Fibish has a fun little term. She calls like groups of 3 and jigs. She calls them jiglets. I don't know what else to call them. I think that's a great term. I give credit to Marla for that. But between every jiglet, you know, every little group of 3, if we could use a slur, perhaps, because we want to get, like, an accent. If we don't use the slur, it's a little heavy-handed. So, like, if we can use that slur, even though we're getting that big old swoop and hitting the double stop, if we can use that slur, that's like a great spot. And then slurring over the bar lines, like if you're looking at sheet music, you know, you get 9 notes per measure in a slip jig. So that's where that slur happens, the D to G little, that happens over the bar line. That's another way we can get a nice accent without having to like really beat people over the head with it. So yeah, nice feature of this tune. You get that fun little da-da-da-da. And then a fun little thing there is you know, anytime you get this, you can always go. So that's like a good spot for a little triplet. Sounds extra fancy because you just swooped up to it, you know. And I try to do kind of a percussive one, but it doesn't have to be. You can just really do the most just like nicely, just doesn't have to be a crazy, you know, Tommy Peoples super triplet. It can just be a nice... It adds a really nice little lyrical thing. We've been kind of down in the dark the whole time, playing these deeper notes. We just did that really big da-ya-da-da-da, so we might as well do a nice little da-da-da-da-da. That's kind of a call and response, kind of an echo sort of thing. So yeah, that's a nice thing. The triplets are really nice if we can add them. They can be a little awkward in jigs and slip jigs, especially the bowed triplets. But that's a good spot, I think. And you know, and it's that's a good spot where I'll usually either do that, I'll just do like a little double stop. First finger with open D sounds good. If it sounds a little too bluegrassy for you, then you can do like a roll there is really nice. I really like the slide into the roll thing if you can do it. Because like the idea is there's two different kinds of rolls in general. Maybe there's probably more. There's at least three now that I think of it. A fourth one now that there's a lot of different rolls. But the two that come up the most is when you have a dotted quarter note, which is like a 3-beat roll. You know, so in this tune it's like 1, 2, 3, 1, 2, 3, 1, 2, 3, diddly, diddly, diddly. That's our timing. And that's what our timing is here. So if you have like a quarter note roll sliding, it's nice because you want it. The worst thing you can do with a quarter note roll is do it too soon. And then you're sitting on the note. Like those are too soon. And it throws the time, you know, so you want that. So sliding the note, even though it does add an element to it, it forces you to wait. So it is a nice thing to practice, if you can. And so normal little slide works too. And then you have that same phrase as before. Sometimes I'll do a little a bow triplet. And that concept, you know, you could put a bow triplet kind of anywhere without changing your fingering. You get two notes on one, you get two bows on one note and then one bow on the other note. And that's like a super Martin Hazy thing to do. He'll do that where he'll play like the tune just the normal way he plays it, but he'll just put tons of bow triplets everywhere. But he won't change his fingering whatsoever. And it's a pretty easy way to add some flair to a section where you can't maybe do anything else. You know, like that kind of thing. That's the same fingering. But you do that bow triplet without changing your bowing. You can get that sort of stuff going on. Even if you don't do it that much, you know. Good thing to do. And even in that, my favorite phrase, good spot for that. Okay, so we did. That's another thing I like to do. You know, that same phrase, that's that phrase, like, you seriously can do so many things with that. So that's another good thing to do, is kind of, I think of that as overstating the case, because we've already done, and then it's really like, da, 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 you know? As much as we can change phrasing, it really makes it more interesting. Even if you don't use any ornamentation, just, instead of going, you can just, just do something with it. Make it sound how you want it to sound. Don't be a slave to just playing it like a metronome. Okay, next phrase, unless there's any questions about any of that. We're now up into what did the guy call it? The mellifluous third part. I had to look that up for the definition. I'd never seen that word before. Mellifluous. It means full of melody, and it's lyrical and, pretty sounding and stuff. So we got our mellifluous part here. Starting off with a nice second finger roll. What I like to do with these second finger rolls, right? We talked about these first finger rolls, right? Where you got like, you got that open string, right? That you're opening your finger to. And technically what most people tell you to do with these second finger rolls is to have a first finger behind it like this. So we got our little sideways finger movement, giving us the ever so slightest little percussive noise, lifting it up. But sometimes, and especially in this case, where it's kind of an E minor chord under it, and this tune's very E minor-y, I'll just do an open string there as well. Kind of gives it a slightly different sound, and, you know, it saves... I feel like it is slightly less effort than using that first finger. It's just a little option you can do. You can sort of listen to them both. It's not that big a difference, but it's a little thing I like to do. I feel like it's a little snappier sounding. And then you can slide it as well, you know, like the earlier part. That's a good spot for a double stop. It's the same double stop that we played there, just with a different voicing. That was E and B down here. We got it here, and then we've got it here too. That's the three different easily accessible E plus Bs that we have. So this is a good one to use. And so you're basically adding a note instead of going... That's a nice little sound. And it's a good spot for what I think of as kind of a little bow hop. So it's not like a bow triplet. It's just like a... It's kind of like a Scottish sort of feel. You know, if you've ever played a Strathspey in Scottish music, you get all these like... It's kind of a little mini kind of thing like that. I like to do it in that phrase because that is such like a, you know, what's the word? Such a forceful kind of phrase. Da, 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 da. So it's nice to throw a little something on there. Okay, so stuff I did through there. I did those little slidey roll thingies I talked about. I don't think I actually did that, but that is a good spot for that too. You slide that fourth finger with the open string. That's a really good spot for that little pinky thing. And that one's hard to do. You know, the pinky is the weakest finger. So that's one where I will sometimes just do a pull-off as opposed to a normal... I'll do a... You know, just lift it off if you time it right. You can kind of get that sound. I find that phrase is a really good one for it. That's like a good spot. I don't know, maybe it's because you're going 1, 2, 3 already. But yeah, the real trick is getting the little grace note to hit basically between the 2 and the 3. So it's like 2, 4, 3 in slow motion. So that's a good spot for that. You know, eventually you want to be able to do third finger rolls too, you know? So yeah, that's a good spot to start getting that pinky involved in some of these cuts. It really makes for a sparkly sound. Just that slight little beep-ba-ba. That's really nice. And so what I did there too is I did another kind of roll. I did a little hammer-on roll. So instead of doing a roll, you're going... And the short roll is a nice kind of roll. That's like a hammer-on into a short roll. You can use short rolls for normal quarter note spaces. I don't know if there's a lot of good spots for that in this tune, but there is it's a good way to do like add something to a dotted quarter note roll, one of these 3-beat rolls. Way we can sort of mix it up. So it's not just the same thing all the time. And then always slides are nice. I really like that fourth finger slide because sometimes that fourth finger might be a little questionable in its intonation for some people, including me. Sometimes I'm not overly confident in how in tune that's going to be. So if you slide it, it doesn't matter, you know? It's a moving target. People can't catch you out of tune right there. And because it's the highest note in the tune, you know, it's nice to give it like a little something. We can't use a grace note. You could do as a bow triplet, perhaps. Yeah, so that's like another way to make it stand out. But yeah, I like the slide. And then again, the little delay. That is a nice little maneuver. Okay, unless there's any questions about any of that stuff, we're gonna check out this this next section. So what the sheet music has written in is what I would consider more of a variation than like the standard way to play this, which is doing a bow triplet right here. Here's what I would normally do. Sorry, I'm kind of drawing this out unnecessarily. This section goes etc. What the sheet music has written is which I don't hear many people do that as like a standard thing. It's good practice, and I'll definitely use it as like more of a variation. But that's sort of a tricky spot to use a bow triplet, and it's really easy for that to not sound in rhythm. Like, even if you do it perfectly, it sounds a little weird. It's done best in the context of a group. Again, you know, say we played this tune too many times, you start throwing some of that kind of stuff in there. So yeah, that thing, you could practice it. It's good practice. It's nice being able to use the bow triplets. Like, most of the time when we have bow triplets, and I think this is why I was mentioning earlier how they can be a little tricky in jigs, because I think we all play these like reels where you have a leaded note, usually where you get a tune like, say, like the Congress reel or something. You always have that lead-in note, da-da-da-da-da. Right? You get that lead-in, da-da-da-da-da, da-da-da-da-da. You get used to that pattern, but it never happens in a jig. We can't go da-da-da-da-da, like that. That timing doesn't work, really. So where the triplets happen are in different places with different timing, and we usually don't have a lead-in note. You know, I can't think of a time that it happened. You know, there's probably someone that could find a spot like that. But usually it's somewhere like this, right? We're using it at the beginning of a phrase, like I was saying earlier. You know, you got no lead-in notes for those. And then right here, there's not enough time for that. So you just have to go. Yeah, they kind of happen like that. You don't get the same feel as the triplet in the reel. So it's a good enough spot to practice that. I think the beginning of the tune's probably better because it is such an easy to hear and easy to feel da da da, you know. You know, you're not worrying about this hand. You can really think about like the timing and the triplets. So that's a good spot. But sorry, I digress. Moving on. This spot, you got that. It's basically the previous section. It's like you could call it a different section, but it's just the same thing with a slightly different phrasing. The previous section was. This one is. So instead of, we're going. So, you know, it's different enough, I suppose. It is Irish music after all. So that phrase right there. I like doing a little slide there. You know, instead of doing the roll that we've been doing the whole time in that phrase, you get that nice little... I like that sound. I would describe that as stank. You know, a little stanky note you're thrown in there. It's like something that the pipers are always doing. If we can sound like pipes at any point, that's usually a good way to go. A lot of ornamentation that we do is trying to mimic what the pipes are doing. So I really like that spot, you know. Even though a nice crispy roll would be nice, you know, adding that little stanky kind of phrasing is nice. Okay, so there, you know, that's a good thing. You got this. You can do a B roll. It's a little bit of a departure, you know, like you wouldn't want to do that the first time through this tune, probably. You want people to hear the normal phrase enough times to know that you're, like, doing something there. But that's, like, a valid thing. And then the more easily, you know, acceptable to the ear thing you could do the first time through is just do a variation on that open E. So you're not just, you're getting... doing something there. That's like a open string crayon kind of thing. What Kevin Burke does that's a really nice thing to do, he'd do this. That's easier and more probably acceptable than what I was doing. Where you're basically, the open string roll is a funny concept, and it's basically you're going, but you want to hear the open E. It's an ornament on the open E. So what he does is he basically just pulls both fingers across. It's like that kind of thing I was doing earlier, but he just does it with both fingers. And you can see I'm not moving my fingers very fast. So it gives you that little bit of a sound there, so you could phrase it like this. And that could also be interpreted as this. You know, I'm doing a little slide. The slide is actually more important than you realize for that. You could just go... But this... I'm kind of intentionally maybe not getting it all the way up to an F sharp because I'm really just trying to add some stank to that E. That E is the note that I'm gracing. That's what I'm trying to like add an embellishment to. I'm not trying to like shoehorn in a different note. We don't want that F sharp to come in and steal the open E's thunder. We just kind of want a little something to happen in there. And if we can move our finger and keep it kind of flat, it sounds really cool. And like, I keep using this word, but extra stanky, you know. You know, sometimes it's acceptable to play a note that
Hola, Nora. ¿Cómo se va? All right.
I think someone needs to mute their thing. So let's see. So we got the open string thing. The thing that I'm doing, you could do the fourth finger slide thing. It's really fun to do the slide plus a cut. That's pretty saucy. That's what it'd be. That's like a pretty nice sounding little thing there. And then you can do, there's like a lot of stuff, right? And I always like to think about what the tune's already doing, and then maybe like a nice ornament would be just to do more of it. Like, instance that's like... So we could do something. I don't know, something like that, where you could really just do more of the... Something like that. That's a little more concise. That's a little more melodic, too. So I'm just kind of trying to go back to that note as many times as I can. There's no specific formula. I'm just doing like... I have a long note, so I'm just going to that note again. And it sounds nice because then you have that phrase right again. And then right there, instead of... just to get that note in there another time where it's not too tricky. That would be like the fancy one that I'd probably have to practice. Oh, almost got it. Okay, but yeah, you get the idea. Just probably shoehorning that little note in there for replacing different notes. I know it's not quite as easy as just, oh, you just stick it in there and it's just works. But that is a good example, you know, that section, the thing that makes it different than the previous section that sounds almost exactly the same is the fact that it's going to that beat. That's kind of its whole identity versus that one's, you know, that's that section's identity, right? So if we can bring that out, then even all the better, you know. Okay, and then, you know, we're talking about how these sections are the same. I'm gonna move on to this last section, unless anyone has anything to say about any of that stuff. We're on to our last section, okay? And this one is nice. I'm looking at the sheet music right now, and sometimes it's a good idea if the sheet music has chords written in. Big disclaimer, like, a lot of the chords written into sheet music are really weird and not necessarily the best choices. But sometimes they can give you like a hint at sort of what the tune's doing. And I always looked at this section as being sort of like just a variation of the first section, or the second section, I mean. The one where you get the... this one. But I'm looking at the chords, and I'm seeing in that second section, it's like a G chord at the beginning. But this one has a C chord because it's starting up on this higher note, which is actually very different sounding than that G chord that the first part. Or this one's more of like a... it's a way different sound. So that's kind of a neat thing. It kind of like, you know, lets me know this section's maybe a little different. At least, you know, it's making me think at all. That's always a good thing. An interesting thing in these tunes, I was saying how like that E minor chord is like the note you'd want to end on. You can substitute a C chord or an A minor chord for the E minor chord sometimes to create like a neat effect. And that's also what's going on here a little bit. You know, there's chord substitutions at play. C sort of comes into E minor to make it more interesting if we can. But anyway, here's the section. We just did our repetitive... Okay, so that section, the first thing that I think about in that section is I feel like the first 6 notes kind of belong to the previous section. I don't know. It's more of like a feeling thing where it's like we got this
Yeah.
It's like it's sort of a continuation of that section, bringing us down to that note. So the way I like to phrase that is I was like, you know, I was talking about how the first note, you know, of a measure, first note of a section, anything gets a little bit of an accent. I kind of like to downplay that. I like to really just like make it feel like maybe I'm ending the tune or I'm just doing a little variation. And we get that da-da-da. It's like such a big, glorious moment. It's even more of like a big G thing than we had before. Because we have that awesome lead into it. And then, usually the second time, I like to do something to an open E thing instead of doing the same phrase again. Right here. I'll do something on the open E. I don't know, something. You got all those bunch of options. I think I've talked about most of those. You could do a banjo-y thing. I've been playing some banjo lately, so you go... If you want to like be extra kind of goofy sounding, you throw in some chromatic. That's probably a little silly, but the more like acceptable thing would be like... That'd be a nice little variation there. I don't think I'd used any bow triplets yet. Let's see. Ooh, that's a good one too. So in jigs, you'll get this moment a lot, where you get the bow triplet plus the cut. It's a nice sound, very pipey kind of a sound, and it matches like sort of these pipey ornament kind of moments. That you'll get in a lot of tunes. It doesn't happen in this one, but there's a common phrase in a lot of jigs that goes stuff like that. Or they really just play a bunch of what are called crayons, or these pipey ornaments. Sound kind of like that. That's our closest approximation, that and rolls pretty much. So it's a good spot to practice that. You know, I was saying earlier how that cut is sort of like the foundation of a lot of stuff. That's just yet another thing. It even comes into our bowing ornaments. You can even use the cut with the bowing ornament to add an extra thing, and you'll get this one. That happens too, where you do two cuts. That's also a really nice one. It takes up a longer bit of time, so it's good to have sort of ornaments that take up different durations of time, you know? You could have like, you know, your straight triplet would just be, you know, like that. Or you could do an extra little note in between. People do a lot. And then you have the triplet plus the cut. And then you have the triplet plus the two cuts. So that you have some different ornaments for different time durations. So let's see what else in this section. Okay, so I think what we could do now here is, we've talked about a lot of ornamentation, a lot of variations, a lot of different things we can do. I figure let's just play through the tune a few times here. So I'll play it not so fast, so we can think about more of this stuff, try to add some little fun embellishments, and then I'll probably play it a little faster, and then hopefully, if anyone has any questions or anything, I can answer any of those. And yeah, without further ado, here we go. Yeah, so we'll play a little faster in a second here. Ended it on that A minor chord, kind of leave it a little like unresolved and mysterious sounding. But you could end it on the E minor and it'd be fine. It just depends on what kind of mood you're in. So yeah, we'll try it a little faster here, and then yeah, we can close up.
My whistle.
Oh sure, yeah. All right. Well, yeah, it was fun having you all here with me. If anyone has any questions, now would be a good time to fire away. We'll be back tomorrow night at 7. Me and Alina, who's playing the whistle there, will be leading a session. So yeah, she'll be playing uilleann pipes and a little whistle. I'll be doing fiddle, maybe concertina, maybe a little banjo. I think we only have an hour, so can't play too many instruments, but I hope anyone that wants to can, join us for some tunes. We'll be all standard session fare, so yeah, nothing too wild, except for the amount of fun we're gonna have, of course.
Chief coming in to say hello.
Oh yeah, we got the mandatory cat appearance, so everyone knows they got their money's worth. So yeah, no, it was a pleasure having everyone there with me. Yeah.
Yeah, we'd come to see some of you at the session tomorrow if you can make it. We could try to play that tune.
Yeah, we'll play Kid on the Mountain. You can all work on every little thing I talked about.
And we'll take tune suggestions in the chat. If you have a favorite tune tomorrow and you want to play it, we can try to work it in.
Yeah. Cool. Well, thanks you all again. I'm gonna sign off, and we'll have someone joining us here in a couple of minutes.
Yeah, who's, I think there might be a break after this.
Oh, well then,
yeah, there might be a break after this. Any other questions or anything, if anyone wants to unmute? It probably won't create any terrible feedback sounds. We haven't tested that theory.
Well, I just wanted to say that I have not been an Irish fiddle. I'm a contest fiddler, but cool. I'm now a Irish mandolin player. Thanks to Marla.
Yeah.
And this was incredibly luring. I loved all the ornaments, and I'm like, I maybe should start learning this genre because it was simply fabulous. I loved your compound ornaments, like with the cut with a couple slides or the cut with a couple rolls, and I just thought it really was rich, and I'm going to try and duplicate a bunch of those on Mando, but also I'm going to try and learn it straight up on Fiddle. So thank you so much.
Oh yeah. No, my pleasure. Yeah, it is fun. It's sort of like, yeah, each little piece is kind of a building block. You put them together in different ways, different timings, and yeah, really glad you enjoyed. Yeah.
Thanks so much.
Yeah, we don't have to leave exactly at 5, it turns out. So if you have a burning question and you're afraid it'll take us over time, don't worry about it. If you have anything you want to ask.
Otherwise, yeah.
Yeah. Otherwise, we'll take off. Yeah. Great seeing all of you. Thanks for joining us.